China or Thailand or Germany. And it's super cool and it's super fun, and they like to see that you're excited about something and willing to talk about international experiences. Plus, it's a boost in their perspective of you because you've already got international experience. Also put any scholarships or awards that you've earned if they're relevant to what you're looking for. And if you don't have any experience or research, list the relevant courses or projects related to your objective. I know that a lot of introduction classes, they do projects, and you can list those projects and say what you did in those projects and what your objectives were and what you accomplished. So for me, during my first career fair, I put on one of the projects from the first Kinney class, 2100. We did a safety project, and I was able to talk about that to one of the recruiters, and it really emphasized how important safety is and how we should always consider it when doing any project. For the work experience and research select section, make sure when you list them, you don't have to do it immediately when you're first making it, but by the time you are finishing your resume and before printing it out, make sure you put all of your experiences in reverse chronological order so that your first bullet point, your first experience is your most recent. Use bullet points, state accomplishments, not just statements of what you did. Say, all right, I did this, this, and this in order to money. I optimized the supply chain and reduced our shipping costs by 20%. State your accomplishments, not just, oh, I did this and this. They want to see what the results were, not just, oh, you did something. Remember to stay in one tense. Always, you can stay in the past tense or stay in the present tense, but don't switch between them. It'll irk some people who are very detail oriented, and it'll make your resume sound a little wonky. Don't discuss any negatives, or try not to discuss any negatives. If you do have any negatives, talk about how you mitigated them or how you resolved them. Try to spin it into a positive. If there was any, if you worked on a project that they're asking about and they asked a behavioral question about how you resolved the conflict in that situation, turn it into a positive. Make sure you're able to talk about all the bullet points that you have and all of your experiences. Don't put something on there that you were told to put on there, or basically something that you kind of did or you kind of helped out with. Make sure you know the details about it and you can talk more about it. Quantify what the results were, how much money you saved, how much product you made, how many people you presented to, how many people you worked with to get it done, differences in efficiencies. They like to see numbers, even though they may not know the relative amount, but they like to see that there are numbers. So a lot of resumes, people like to use buzzwords, especially for that industry. So for example, chemies, sometimes you get Lean Six Sigma training while you're an intern, which you have to be really lucky to get it, but it helps out with applying to other jobs. And they'll see that, oh, you know Lean Six Sigma? Oh, we'd love to apply those skills to this project. And they like to see that you have experience and you have training and that you're continually learning. Make sure, in addition, also use buzz verbs. buzzverbs are basically words that say what they're verbs that have meaning to what you did. So I've attached a link in the presentation which I'll send out afterwards that links back to this page, but it's basically a list of all the verbs that you want to use in your resume so that it reflects accurately what you did. You simplified a process flow diagram. You supported one of our manufacturing teams and helped them through a problem that they were having. You standardized a shipping list. You set up a communication effort between two groups that weren't communicating before so that they could fix a problem and so that they know about different problems that are occurring. Also, whatever you do, if you see acronyms on your resume, list them out, list out what exactly your acronyms mean, because a lot of the time people don't know what other acronyms mean unless they're in that specific industry or specific company. I know that the company that I work for has a whole heap of acronyms, and even I get confused sometimes with the acronyms that we deal with. So make sure that when you do list an acronym, spell it out and tell what it is, or if you're using it multiple times, what's better is you list it out and say, oh, this is a management of change document, and then put in parentheses MOC, and then you can refer back to that MOC anywhere else in the resume. You just have to spell it out at least once. A lot of people who are reviewing resumes, they'll see the acronym and it may mean something to you and it'll make the whole entire sentence obvious what you did, but if they don't know what it means, that sentence means nothing to them. Omit pronouns whenever you're writing your resume. I, me, he, she, it, they, who. This makes your resume sound less personal and more formal, and it makes it seem like you put more effort into your resume. And last but not least, emphasize group work and leadership. They like to see that you're communicating with people and that you have communication skills and that you can work with people very well and that you have experience working with people so that you can communicate effectively and solve problems, not create them. A lot of there are problems that occur just because of a breakdown in communication, and those are extremely preventable by communicating effectively. It's one of those skills that you can apply to both work and life. Also specify how many people were in the group and what the group of the goal was so that you show the results of what you did. We accomplished this, or our goal was this and we accomplished this. Our goal was to introduce women to engineering and we introduced 132 girls to engineering during this event. In the activities section, of course, if you're a member of any professional organizations, especially AX, put it on there. There's different ones for all the different majors, so make sure to research what you want to be in and what you're currently in and put those on your resume, especially if you have a leadership position in those specific organizations. Same thing goes for campus and community activities. Put your leadership experience, if there are any activities that you led or if you participated in and it relates to the company that you're applying for, put that on there. Be able to talk about it and bring it up when you're talking with the recruiter and say how cool it is that their company does this and you did a similar thing in another activity and you'd really like to get involved in that company's activity. Volunteer opportunities are good. It shows that you're involved in the community. Same thing goes for volunteer opportunities. Make sure that if you have any leadership or strong involvement, put that on there and be able to talk about it. Skills. There are a lot of skills that you can put on here that may or may not apply to the job that you're looking for. A lot of people might know LabVIEW, but if you're not applying for a position or for a company that uses LabVIEW, you can put it on there so that they know that you know it and you can use it when you're there. But if they don't use it, they'll just look at it and be like, oh yeah, he knows a lot. For computer programmers, you'll probably want to put all of the languages that you know. If you're applying for a position for process control or applications or something computery, the languages that you know, make sure that you if you know how to use VBA, put VBA on there. VBA is the automation language of Excel. Microsoft Office, you can put that on there because every single one of you is a competent person and you can use Microsoft Office. It just means that you can use Microsoft Office. If you have a foreign language that you know or multiple, put that on there and your degrees of fluency. Some companies are expanding internationally and would like to have more people who know the language of the country that they're going into. They may send you over to that country and have you work between the company's home base and that country's efforts to expand. And finally, this is your resume. It's your resume. It's not Joe, Bob, Billy's, Janet's resume. It's your resume. You get to say what goes on your resume and what doesn't. You can ask 20 different people what they think of your resume, and they'll come up with 20 different things that you should add or take off, and they'll be contradicting. And some will be really great, some will be terrible advice, but you'll get to see those suggestions and you'll get to see a lot of different opinions and be able to decide what you want to take and put on your resume and what you don't want to put. So make sure that it looks good to you and it looks decent to other people. And you can also incorporate things to build your resume and make it easier to read. If you make it easier to read, the recruiter will love you. I promise you. If they can automatically go to your GPA, your major, your graduation date, if your work experiences are bolded for each one, they can automatically see, oh, you have three internships and one research experience. Tell me more about the research experience. They like to be able to go directly to what they want to talk about and to be able to like check off exactly what they're looking for on a resume. The less they have to write down, the better it is, and the more they'll be able to get to know you. There's some miscellaneous information. If you're past your first year, you shouldn't have anything from high school on your resume. This is because you're in college, you're expected to participate and start learning more about what you want to do, whether it's research, whether it's internships, co-ops. You should have at least started applying or volunteering or participating in a college activity. Whereas high school, it was good to use to apply to college, but you should have already started getting involved in college after a year. A lot of people, they like to put cover letters on their resumes. Don't do it if you're going to the career fair for an internship or a co-op. Usually for full-time, you probably don't want to put a cover letter unless it's a very high position and requires a cover letter. Usually cover letters are more for extremely formal positions and PhD positions. Also, when you're sending your resume to a recruiter or submitting it to CareerBuzz, save it and send it as a PDF. Don't make it a Word document, because there's some metadata that they can see if they pull up the right areas and see how you've edited your resume. And I've included a link to a template. So there's a template from the College of Business that they have a resume template that is extremely useful. And I hope I clicked the right one. Hey. So this is actually the first one that I used also. So address, name, phone number, email address, objective, education, activities, work experience, skills and interests. So I personally like this format because your activities and your work experiences are bolded, and they can tell exactly how many work experiences you've had, how many activities you're participating in or currently participating in. Immediately, they can tell your major, your GPA. You probably don't want to do class ranking, but this is a good template, even though it says high school. Just substitute high school for college and program for GPA or for your major, and make sure that you keep it to one page. Don't cram things together. See this space here? The space in between the first and second most recent activity. That's good to have because it clearly delineates where your most recent activity and your second most recent activity is. It makes it extremely easy to read, and the recruiter will love you for that. All right, back to the presentation. Also, other resources, if you know the text, use it to create a custom template. The career webpage for Georgia Tech has a lot of tips. You can see example resumes there too. Ask your brothers for resumes and see if you can get some ideas about how to write a resume from them. Talk with brothers who have graduated and brothers who are higher up than you and see if they can take a look at your resume, or if you can look at their resume and get some ideas. When I first came in, I did that, and I revamped my resume about 5 different times within a week, just by talking to different people. And don't forget to apply to both the company website and CareerBuzz. A lot of companies won't even look at your resume if that doesn't happen. I don't know if that's changed. I don't think it has, but if it has, just ignore this. And now let's open up the floor for questions. Any questions? Anybody want some tips on their resume that they have a question about that they want to know more about? Also, do the chats work? Let's see. Thank you for coming to see the resume presentation. Let me know if you have any questions, or email Nico, because he's the professional activities chair. He'll be able to answer your questions also. And if he can't answer them, then he'll find someone who does know the answer. Um, and I'll send out this presentation to Nico, and he can send it out to you guys. Thank you guys for your time. I really liked presenting to you guys. Thanks.